blessed with a championship prosperity the likes of which we have never seen, cursed by a past riddled with despair. This is Blurst.
Tuesday, isn't it? Today is Tuesday, September 6th. I hope that everybody had a great, relaxing Labor Day weekend. I am joined on Blurst, as always, by Blake, the Bleezer, and Kais. What's up, fellas?
Not much, man. We had a great weekend. I loved that British intro there. You know that got
Did
me
I
going.
surprise you with that?
Oh,
Yes.
you did, but I was so happy about it.
Is
There's
Labor
very
Day a British holiday?
very specific phrases I can say in different dialects. So,
In a way,
and not
Blake,
even phrases, just words.
To answer your
Words.
question, I think every holiday is a British holiday. You know, they are the dried husk that we sprang from.
That's
Without them, we have no holidays. you know?
Without we wouldn't have our first holiday without
Yeah,
them.
we have zero holidays without them. All right. But yeah, what about yourself, Hayden? How was how's your weekend?
Oh, it was good.
Been-
Good. Went exploring around a little bit with a friend from out of town, so that was good.
Nice.
Nearly
yeah.
died. We tried to look at a lot
Ooh.
to buy up a mountain, and it ended up being a very narrow dirt road that was not well maintained, and nearly
You
went
love
off the
those.
side. Yeah, so
You're
did not have
historically
4-wheel
known for
drive,
that-
so
loving those.
yeah, I was sweating. I was sweating a little bit.
Sweating.
Made it through, and had to get a drink after that. But yeah, doing good now. Happy to be live. Happy to watch
Sick.
them dogs eat.
God, they did. Everybody ate just about.
Yeah, so I actually missed the beginning of the game because I was driving to
You get
listen-
off this
listen.
podcast right now.
listen, I was driving to my mom's
Mm-mm.
house and I promised just we didn't have to listen to the game in the car because the reason we left late was my fault anyways. It was my fault. So like we could have got up there in time to watch the game, but we left late, which is my fault.
You didn't want to
Um,
hear the sultry tones of Scott Howard and the
No,
Georgia
it's not
radio
that I didn't want
broadcast?
to, but I was already what I'm trying to say, I was already behind, you know what I mean, for the day, and I was just trying to make sure I was trying to be fair. So we'll listen to music on the way up there. And so when I got there, I was so surprised when I saw the score at halftime was like 28-3
You
or
didn't
whatever.
see all the first half?
I watched during halftime. I caught up
Oh my
through
God.
replays,
Or
but no, I
you
missed
can
the first
listen to
half.
music any moment.
Yeah.
It's always sitting there for you.
It's always there. This game's not.
Just didn't want to listen to the game in the car. It's
That's
not my
okay.
fault.
All right.
It's all right. Well, I
mean, it
will
was my
check
fault.
that.
We'll have to teach Jess the ways and
Yeah,
how
she-
important it is.
Yeah, we'll arrange a meeting with her and Scott. It'll be nice.
Okay.
My people will contact his people.
We'll have
But
to do
yeah.
that. Well, so I guess Blake's not going to dive into the dogs quite as much, but give us his hot takes. Aaron, you want to?
No, I still caught up with the
you
game.
caught up, but
Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
didn't care.
Right.
Um,
You just wasn't your heart wasn't in it, really.
Oh my god.
I think what we've got discovered. Okay, well, yeah. Why don't we just jump straight into the dogs then? And yeah, it was quite the start to the season. Obviously, you know, we're not going to recap the game. We just want to talk about things we saw from it. But will tell the score because I love hearing it. 49-3. How good does that sound?
yeah, I mean the defense needs to improve, obviously.
Yeah, clearly. Yeah, we'll talk
Yeah.
about that a little bit later. Kirby.
It was honestly shocking. I
It
want
was.
because we said, I know we talked about this last week. We are like, well, the expectation, it says 17.5 is the point spread. I think it went down to 17 before the game started or something like that.
It was 16 when I saw it.
Okay, there we
16 and a
go.
half or
16
something
and a
like
half.
that,
So it
yeah.
went down. And we said on the podcast that we expected to win by 20. And I thought that was kind of optimistic, winning
Oh,
by
yeah.
20. And then
Yeah.
we win by over 40.
And it was so shocking the way it went down. It was like, you know, I really going into it, and I think that we talked about this a few times on the pod, but it was that, yeah, we lost a lot of people off the defense, but just look at who we replaced them with, and the fact that we already played so many people on the defense last year anyway. Being a starter on that defense was almost like a technicality. Like you just happened to be out there when the first play occurred. That we used that many people
Not
last
to your
year. So
saying, yeah.
yeah, and so throwing that out, those guys replacing, and then people who are newcomers replacing those people as the people that rotate in and out, didn't scare me. So the defense thing, the fact that we didn't allow a touchdown actually didn't surprise me. What surprised me was the offense. The fact that we scored on a touchdown, not just scored on each of our first 7 drives of the game. We
with
only
such
punted once.
little resistance. It
Yes!
was like a hot knife through butter. Like it didn't
Oh
feel like
my
there was
God.
Did we have any third downs? I don't know.
No,
Like,
we
it
barely.
didn't feel like it.
No, listen, we did, and we were 8 for 8 or something like that.
8 for 8
Or
on
Stetson
third
Bennett was
down.
8 for
realize.
8.
Yeah,
The first team
exactly.
offense was 8 for 8 on third down or something
That's
like that.
not normal.
7
God.
interceptions.
No, that is not normal at all. And
No,
we
they
got to
were
think about
incredible.
the hype that this Oregon defense had coming in, because it's like, or this wasn't supposed to be the Oregon team we all remember from our, from days growing up with the sport. Or Blake, you were probably not born back then, but yeah, when Chip Kelly was at Oregon.
I watched college football with Chip
I'm
Kelly.
kidding, Blake. I know,
But
but
barely.
yes,
You were just a sparkle in your father's
just
eye.
a sparkle. Yes. So basically back then they were known for being an extremely elite offense, and they were good. They were a top 10 program for a long time and have gone in and out of the top 10 since he left. They've stayed relevant.
Wasn't Mariota the quarterback with Chip
Mariota
Kelly?
won a Heisman
Yeah.
with that Oregon team. And yeah, but they weren't known for their defense. They were known for scoring 60 or 70 points a game and then win a shootout. This was not supposed to be that Oregon team. This was supposed to be a more pro-style offense led by Bo Nix with a dominating defense and 2 of the best inside linebackers supposedly in the game. And man, to what Hayden just said, that's exactly what happened. It was, how many times when we threw the ball was the receiver just wide open? He would catch the ball and there wasn't a green shirt on the entire screen.
And let's not forget, Dan Lanning is a defensive-sided coach. Like, he comes from Georgia, so it's not like he's a bad coach.
No,
and he knew what Todd Monken was going to run. He knew a lot of the offense he's going to run. So it's not
maybe. Although I will say,
we aerated more, opened up the
to
playbook.
a point. So Todd Monken coming into UGA a couple years ago, it was a strange hire because everyone said he almost always runs the air raid at every school he's been at. Georgia doesn't do that. Georgia's been pro style since the 1800s. So
yeah,
it's we just run the ball, and so that did not happen. In fact, the snap count, not necessarily snap count distribution here, but what I should say is the breakdown of rushing plays versus passing plays. But especially when you include the entire game, so between Stetson and Carson Beck, we threw the ball 37 times for 37 times, completing 30 of those for 439 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. And then when the ground attack, it only mustered 25 carries for 133 yards. That is not Georgia.
Yeah, I'll say this, though. They did something. You're 100% right. That's not Georgia. And
yeah,
I mean, we've seen Georgia put up 200-something rushing yards
if not
their
more.
running backs.
Yeah.
I think something they're doing, though, which is really creative, and maybe it took a while for Todd to convince Kirby, which is use the pass as an extension of the running game with those swing passes, all those
which
little
they did.
stuff,
That's a great
which
point.
they do a lot. I mean, I think
the first drive, I think it was the first almost every play, if not every play, the first drive we threw the ball 6 or 7 times. Most of them were behind the line of scrimmage or at the line of scrimmage.
But the nice part is it's not like Georgia. Man, I feel like Georgia 3 or 4 years ago, all we could ever do were swing passes. We could never throw the ball downfield when Jake Fromm was here. I think it was when Jake Fromm was here. We could never get the ball downfield. So it was either running back or swing passes. And then now, splashing the end of last year going into this year, we've been able to air raid it. Like, I mean, Stetson's throwing dimes down the field.
It's insane.
So Aaron, I got a question for you based on how that turned out, the distribution between pass and run. Do you think that's specific, like, to the game plan against Oregon, and we're going to see more, or we're not going to see that, we're going to go back to the run, or do you think we're going to see more of like a pass-heavy offense?
I think that it's not just an Oregon type thing. I could be very wrong, of course, but this was kind of what we talked about before the season. Of we saw it in the second half, and the coaching staff talked about it several times throughout the year. They know, trust me, it wasn't like they just, oh yeah, that's what we're going to do the whole time. No, they noticed that, hey, we won a national championship in which we were behind in the first half by just throwing the hell out of the ball. Maybe there's something to that. And so I think it is not going to be an Oregon game thing. Yeah, next week versus Samford, are we going to throw it 37 times? Probably not. But that'll be a different reason for why we don't throw it that many times.
And maybe it is like the beginning of philosophy change. It's a quarterback we definitely trust now. He's done it on the biggest stage. And so maybe now, instead of passing to set up the run, we or just to make it so we can open up some holes and the defense can't just sit on it. Now we're going to pass the ball to get ahead, and then we can easily ice away the game with our
running
elite rushing offense.
That's still really good.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think something too that Todd and Kirby are smart enough about to, like, they're going to use whichever facet of the game the other team can't control, like during the game. So like during the game, it's obvious that all right, Oregon's linebackers may collapse the line on these rushing plays, but they can't cover all these screen passes, all these wide receivers wide open. So like I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yes, no, I agree. And just to that, as far as to take a step back maybe to the Stetson thing, one thing I wanted to mention was how, Blake, exactly what you said. Todd got him into the game by, essentially running the ball through those short and even screen passes. But that was not the entire game. Once we started to open things up, I saw Stetson make some plays that I didn't think he could do. And that's even after seeing the second half of the national championship last year. And he did it in two different ways, two that I'll point out. The second score, or no, maybe it was the third score. Anyway, that one where we're driving down and we had an angle situation and we do a play action pass where Stetson rolls out to the right and it's not there. And he instead of throwing it away, turns around, he rolls back to the left, but it looked like a bad decision at first because one guy got faked out just from him changing direction. But then he gets immediately swarmed by two other dudes, and I'm thinking, oh, he is sacked. Which is, and I didn't think it was that bad of a thing. I think it was like first and goal. I was like, not the best decision. He makes the first guy miss, and then the second guy actually wraps him up, and Stetson shakes it off and just looks up. And as a fourth person is coming to hit him, he just dimes a perfect ball to a wide open. Really, he threw it to two wide open receivers. Yeah. And
was that the Heisman moment you were talking about?
That was the Heisman moment I texted you guys about.
It was incredible.
That was when I was definitely yelling. I was like, throw it away, throw it away, throw it away. And then he threw a touchdown, and I was like, oh, yeah, Ladd was wide open, and so was Washington right there, too.
Yeah, exactly. They were right next to each other. It was crazy. In fact, looking back, even though it wasn't in the moment what I thought, but looking back, I had flashbacks of the Josh Harvey Clemens, and I forget the guy that hit him, but the prayer at Jordan-Hare where Auburn, threw that Hail Mary that we had it picked off, and two of our guys hit each other, and it
tipped up.
Thinking about it, I was like, in years past, that's what would have happened. Our two wide open receivers would have collided and the ball would have careened out of bounds. But this is just, it shows that not only is our team. I bet it's just things like that don't happen anymore. And I'm not going to say why, but I think it's obvious. But yeah.
I think coaching has a lot to do with unluckiness sometimes.
It does. It really does. Even in ways you don't think about, I think.
Just proper technique, no, you're 100% right. I think something too that needs to be brought up was Eric Gilbert didn't touch the field too much, but like we were talking about, how is he supposed to though when you have Brock Bowers and Darnell Washington in front of him? I think something else you said last week, which was the AD Mitchell could be the
Biletnikoff.
I think the hard part for him to win this award is just that we have so many weapons.
We do have so many weapons.
I don't think he can't win it because he could have some major games. I think he can.
Not only that, and yes, he is going to need to have the games where his stats are higher. Yes. But I felt vindicated a lot in the plays that he made. I mean, I think he scored 2 touchdowns.
One was beautiful.
One of which was one of the prettiest plays I've ever seen us do. It reminded me actually of the Aaron Murray days when, if you guys remember back then.
It was a great throw.
Aaron Murray was so good at throwing the back shoulder fade or just a back shoulder throw.
Yep.
And that smacked of that, but even better. And because AD Mitchell, he ran a perfect route and then he released beautifully. The ball was there right when it needed to be. He tiptoed the front corner of the end zone. And I mean, it was just pretty. And that's the type of shit that some of the best receivers in the nation do.
It felt like everything went as smoothly as that play. Yes. It did not feel like we were playing a number 11 ranked Oregon.
No.
It felt like we were playing a scrub team, and not like Oregon may end up in the top 10 on this season, which is nuts.
Time will tell.
That's the crazy part. I do think they might have a quarterback change. I did read a lot of stuff that they're high on their backup, a kid named Tyler Thompson.
Yeah, people.
And that Bo barely won the starting job over him, and he only won it because he's an experienced quarterback.
I feel bad for Bo, Nick. He left the SEC to get away from all that. His first game has to be against the Dogs. He's 0-4 against Georgia. Just not a good look at all.
He is reaching Reggie Ball territory as far as quarterbacks that will go down in history as just doing so awfully against Georgia.
Yeah. Oh no, he might have matched Reggie Ball right there, because I'll be honest, he's been on part of better teams than Reggie Ball was.
Oh yeah, that's I totally agree. I think Bo has had so much better talent than Reggie Bald. I mean, Reggie had Calvin Johnson, but after that, not much.
Bo's also
I
been
mean,
playing for like 6 years. I feel like he will not leave.
dude, it's crazy. And I saw that he's still got one more year of eligibility after this. I think. I truly don't understand it. I think I saw that he was a redshirt junior.
He's
Crazy.
head on to NC State next year.
Did y'all
Yeah.
see
Turn it around.
the Christopher Smith hit where he got hurt?
Yes. Beautiful.
I mean, beautiful play. I hope he's okay and can come back.
He is. I actually
Okay.
saw an injury report saying that him and gosh, I can't remember the other dude that got hurt. It was a name that we would know, but maybe
Yeah.
it was Tyke. It might have been both the Smiths. It might have been Tyke Smith and Christopher Smith. But anyway, that both are expected to be okay. They might miss a couple days of practice this week, but they're not expected to be out. And the thing is, we got this is the beauty of having Samford next. Even if they do need to sit out, this is the perfect week. We essentially have like a
Bye week.
a second
Yeah.
bye week here that counts as a win. So, yeah, no, that's something to be excited about.
I would love to
with
see
those guys.
Stetson Bennett have like 5 touchdowns at halftime so they can just bench him, let Carson Beck
Yes.
come in. So keeps him in the Heisman watch, but also
Right.
lets Carson Beck, because Carson Beck has to play, otherwise he's going to want to leave. Like, you got to play these backups.
So one thing I wanted to bring up with you guys, and I totally agree to that point, Blake, and it kind of goes to what I'm about to go with next, is Kirby has always said since he's got here that he doesn't care if you're a redshirt senior, or if you're a 6-year senior, or if you're a true freshman. If you're ready to play, he's going to play it.
Mhm.
And I think that was never more evident than this win. In fact, we actually saw 12 true freshmen take the field, including a lot of guys that made huge plays, like Malachi Starks having that crazy interception that really won us. The game was over right then.
Yeah.
I went back and watched the highlights again today, a long extended version of the highlights, and we stopped in on their first drive.
Was that a shot at me? The extended version of the highlights. Blake only watched the normal highlights.
Yeah.
But I watched the extended version.
It wasn't. So that shows you that was you. Those were your demons. But I will say though that, like Hayden was saying, we cut through them like butter. So they get the ball first, and from the first, I don't know if Blake, you obviously didn't see the kickoff. Hayden, no, they elected to take the kickoff out of the end zone, and we tackled him. And it wasn't just one dude; 3 or 4 guys swarmed him before he even got to the 15-yard line. Like that set
Set the tone early.
He set the tone early.
Yeah.
They did get a couple first downs on their first drive, but then they had to punt to us. We drove down, easy as could be. When they get the ball back, that's when the Malachi Starks pick happened, and that happened, I think, at the 3:34 mark in the first quarter, and that's when it was over.
Yeah.
That's literally that.
Yeah, because the first quarter was a close game, right? 7-3 or something like that, up to a certain point.
No,
Or 7-0.
I think we ended that quarter with that touchdown, so I think it was 14-3.
Oh, 14-3. Oh, my bad.
Because we took over on the Malachi Starks pick and went down
Yeah.
and scored.
Okay.
I think, unless
I
that
thought we
bled
scored
to the
21 points in the second quarter.
that may have bled to the second quarter.
Yeah,
then.
I'm not
I
sure.
don't know if you want to check that, but anyway, either way, yes.
You know who else had major impact?
Tell me.
Only once, but you brought him up a couple of times over the last couple of weeks. But Brett Thorson had a
Yes.
hell of a punt.
He did.
He only had to punt one time,
But it was a 53-yard bomb.
yes, it was.
Yeah,
It was
yes.
awesome. Great hang time.
He looked good, man. And then he got his they talked about the things we talked about. They did about 30, 40 seconds of he's from Australia. This is actually he's only been in America for less than a year, all that stuff. And a rugby
If you're listening to us, you hear it here first, guys.
Yeah, that's right. But
You hear it here first. You can tell it before they tell it.
yes. But yeah, so like I said, 12 freshmen. One that was the biggest surprise for me was a guy named Michael Williams. He actually started on the defensive line with Jalen Carter. And when we did our little breakdowns of the position groups, he was actually not someone that I had been hearing that much about. And coming out of spring, he was actually listed 3rd on the depth chart. But Kirby was asked about Michael specifically after the game, and he said exactly what I wanted, or what I said leading into this, which was that, from day one, he's always said, I'm putting the best players on the field. I do not care if they're, but that's also a week-to-week thing.
Right.
He was sure to bring that up. If Michael doesn't practice well this week, then you won't see him starting again.
You think Kirby learned that lesson with Justin Fields?
Yeah, I don't know if he's got a weird thing about quarterbacks. I think that even though he won't say it, that the whole mantra he just spilled of, if you're, I'm playing the best players week to week, not even season to season. I think that's for 20 or 21 positions on the field.
That's why I was making a face when you said that first time, because the first thing that came to mind was the Justin Fields, Jake Fromm,
right.
Just because like not to just like take a dump on Jake Fromm, but I mean, after seeing Justin Fields in his career at Ohio State and being a top pick and still being in the NFL as a starter, I mean the talent has played out, and maybe we were being a little bit too loyal to Jake there.
Yeah, if we did what Nick Saban did to Jalen Hurts with a Tua switch, and we did that with Jake with Justin Fields, I think we win another national championship prior to.
Could be.
Never
but
know.
There, I will say there are intangibles there that we can't see. In fact, the Manti Te'o documentary kind of talked about a little bit of those. I'm not saying Justin Fields had a fake girlfriend or anything, but what I am saying is that maybe he just didn't like it here. I know he's from Georgia, so that doesn't play into that as much. But maybe he just didn't like Athens. And plus, we had the instance of racism, of course. That
was Todd Monken like OC by that point?
No, I don't think so.
I feel like if Todd Monken was here, it would have been different. Because Justin Fields would look so good in our offense.
Who was the OC back then?
I'm not sure. Real quick though, before I don't know if you're about to move on from Dawgs, but they did vote to increase the college football playoff to 12 teams.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up.
Which will be 2024, I believe. Which basically means the Dawgs will always make the playoff then.
Yeah, I think it does. Depends on how they're going to structure that, but I don't see any time in the Kirby Smart era where Georgia and Alabama really have to worry about getting in one way or the other.
It felt like too many teams to me. I don't know.
Yeah, it was too many, but the reason is they want to get on this TV money. Like that's why. That's what's happening here.
I was a big proponent of 8. I don't hate 12.
I don't hate 12 either. More football, the better.
Yes, I am always. Yeah, I'm always.
And here's the cool part too. Is they might, what I've heard too, is that because there's 12, the first game, everyone's first game would be played in the higher seeds of the better team stadium. Yeah, so that it would be like a home game, which would be really cool to have a college football playoff home game.
It would, yeah.
So yeah, pretty cool. Anything else about the Dawgs, Aaron?
Not unless you guys want to bring up anything as far as anything y'all might have saw or takes that we haven't covered yet on the game. But
I got a couple things I'd like to spit out here.
Hit me.
So you jotted down these notes for us here of the playing time for the running backs,
right?
And it's basically split between Kendall Milton and Kenny McIntosh. My eye test still says Kenny McIntosh is the more elite runner.
I think so.
Milton got the touchdown, but I just see like an extra gear in Kenny McIntosh that not every running back has.
Right. And not only that, look at the run to pass distribution, though. Of his 23 plays, McIntosh, 17 of them were passes. And I think 7 or 8 of those were passes to him, because I believe he ended the day as our leading receiver.
No, he had 9 catches. Yeah, he had 9 catches.
9 catches for like
117 or something like that.
Yeah. I think 117. And but the weird part was his touchdown was a rushing touchdown. But yes. But it was out of that cool formation. It was a jet sweep out of the trips look. So not your normal. It was still a rushing touchdown from a wide receiver position.
I won't deny that I think McIntosh is the more explosive player, but I still stand by that. I just like the way Milton runs. I mean, he's just he's a tough runner. Yeah, exactly. And that's like kind of my running back prototype I like the one that can just explode through the tackles.
I also like that. I'm sure what y'all saw as well, but when Dijon Edwards got in there, he had some explosive plays, and he looked like a good mix of the two of them.
Yeah,
he's bigger than McIntosh, and runs between the tackles better, I think. But he also, I think, can really make a lot of speedy plays, not necessarily from a wide receiver position, but in screens and things like that.
Right.
So which of the two running backs do you think is 1A and which one's 1B? Because if the game's on the line, I guess if we're in a passing situation, it would probably be
Kenny McIntosh. Yeah,
it is Kenny McIntosh.
But who do you trust more? That's what it comes down to when you have that split.
I trust McIntosh more. The only way that I wouldn't, and not necessarily a trust, but like if the situation was like 4th and inches, like maybe somewhere in the red zone or something like that, in a situation, maybe you hand it to Milton down the middle. Sure. Every other situation, though, if we're going to one of those two guys, it should be McIntosh.
I agree. I think Kendall Milton's like he's the tone setter. Like he's the person you start the drive off, hitting the defense early, like punching the mouth.
I'm glad you brought up that phrase tone setter, because I think it's also a change up. It's essentially a change up ball, maybe leading to the segment we're about to get here in a second. But it's a change up between types of running back where, like, okay, a second ago I just had to tackle this speedy dude, while I was covering him on a wheel route out of the backfield, and I had to tackle his ankles from behind. Now I'm staring at this huge man bowling towards me that I'm going to have to try to tackle straight up. Those are two very different mentalities.
And he hit me in the mouth.
Yeah, and he's fucking smacked me.
Speaking of a large
anyway,
man
yeah.
you have to tackle, that was another one of the things I wanted to bring up was Darnell Washington.
Oh!
That hurdle that he had.
That was
awesome.
Because it was a two-piece. He hit him with the shake off. A dude straight up tried to suplex him, and he just shook him off. And then he was so quick to get to top speed again and hurdled that poor man.
I think the couple times he had the ball, like, I don't know that I really truly saw him go down. He got like pushed out of bounds and then maybe tripped. Or that's the only time he hit the ground the whole game.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
But so I thought that was impressive, and he was on the field a fair amount as well.
He was.
Yeah, he played a
clearly
lot.
the number two tight end behind Bowers.
Yeah.
That seemed
As
to be
he should be.
They should try to find some 3 tight end sets because we just have so much talent.
They did. I mean, there were times I noticed that where those two and Oscar Delp were on the field.
Yeah.
And I thought it was clear Delp was the third as well, because
I've noticed that too, which makes you wonder about what's going on with Gilbert, because
he got asked that question in post-game presser too, but and it's not like he's going to say, oh, that kid sucks, but he would say something along the lines of he's got a lot of work to do, some sort of coach speak that would point to that. He didn't say it. He was like, look, guys, the simple fact of the matter is that the guys in front of him are really, really, really good.
I'm glad he said that. Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's just like we love the kid and we think he does a good job. It's just so do the other dudes, and there's only one ball.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So mailman will find who he needs to find.
Yes, exactly.
Ship it there.
It felt like he was finding Ladd a lot. So that's the last question I want to ask you before we move on. Do they have a mind meld? Is it like we're going to see a lot of Ladd this year, especially in like around the line of scrimmage and short routes out of the slot? Or is it just like coincidence for week 1?
I think, and I'm not taking away anything, I don't think it's coincidence. I think we're going to see it more. And that may hurt A.D. Mitchell's stats, but I think it's because they scheme, from what I can see, especially by the fact that I don't think I saw McConkey catch many balls, if not one, where he was covered. And so I think that he creates space, and I think they also scheme him open easier because of the focus that other teams know they have to put on A.D. Mitchell.
Sure.
So
Ladd McConkey reminds me like a Jordan Shipley mixed like Isaiah McKenzie. Like he's just elusive, gets those
he also looks a lot like Michael Bennett, the guy that used to be at Georgia doing a similar thing.
Yeah. So I think he's a little shiftier than Bennett.
Yeah. I think this would be a good time though to move over to United. And so for the United seg this week, I'd like to say that they lost and their season's over. That was talking soccer. We don't really need to cover it more than that.
Did we pull close with Philly or what?
God no, Jesus!
How bad was it?
It was
actually pretty good until it was bad.
Yeah, and that's been our theme. But no, they scored very early on, but we actually battled back and tied it 1-1, and then it was downhill after that.
You've been saying it all year.
3 straight goals.
Switch keepers. Yes. Switch keeper. I mean, it was so apparent that it was his fault.
So, 2 of the 4 goals they scored were easily.
And at one point, that puts you tied 1-1. Like,
yeah, exactly. So, I think one silver lining, if there is one, Gudino did start finally, to point out what Blake said there. Yeah, they've been needing to switch keepers for the better part of 2 straight months now, and haven't. And then as soon as we get our ass kicked by the number 1 team in the league, that's when they were like, oh, maybe we do switch the keeper. Well, still, it didn't really matter that much. We lose to Portland 2-1, and our playoff hopes all but dash.
The team just looked dejected. Just looked dejected after.
Is it common in MLS to move on from a coach mid-season? Does that happen like it does like in the NFL or?
Well, I mean, in soccer in general, it happens much more.
Yes,
and much more in Europe.
Is that incoming?
I still don't think so. And here, the only reason why is we don't have a director of football yet.
See, I think if depending on who they hire, if that guy has a guy, he's getting fired.
Oh yeah, I think the writing's on the wall for Pineda, but I do think it would be just like, why fire him now?
It feels
Yeah,
like
they'll wait.
Pineda
They'll
is,
wait to fire him until the new guy gets here.
Yeah.
everything you guys tell me makes it sound like he manages like on a lag almost.
It
Like,
is.
We were
his
so
reaction
excited for
time
him,
is so
though.
slow.
Yeah.
Like he starts the goalkeeper 2 weeks too late, and
Yeah.
like he makes the way he like subs players in and out or makes adjustments mid game. It's just like
Yes.
he's like on a delay and he
And to
can't
me,
figure it out.
That is even more to his detriment because it's like, okay, by switching keepers, you are acknowledging that that should have happened. Like you are saying, unless it just occurred to you, if Gonzalo Pineda could look us in the eyes and say that, yes, I didn't think I needed to switch keepers until 4 goals went past us against Philly, then I think he's got a whole nother set of issues. But I don't think that's the case. I think the case is that he's admitting, okay, yeah, I should have taken Rios Novo out before now. But it's like, why even do it? You just make yourself look worse. And the season's already lost. Get Rios Novo in there for the rest of the year. I don't care.
It looks worse too because you defended the week before. You just
Yes.
defended why you're keeping him in there, and
Yep.
so
And
what I
now he's
also
like, I am going to make the switch.
what kills me the most though is I'll give him this. We did lose a lot of players early on, and I feel like it could have been a different season. I mean, we're right there. Crazy part is we were right there in the playoff hunt, even with how bad it's been. Like we're
Yes.
still right there. So like this, I'm kind of glad we lost players though because it showed where he's falling short coaching wise. Because if we had those players still, I think we make the playoffs, and we don't know if he's a good coach or not.
That's true. That is a good point there. But it's just such a strength because he felt like the only sure thing.
Yes.
And he did well. I mean, think about it. The place we're in now was where he took over with, I believe.
Yeah, but Valentino, that's his name, right? Valentino or Valentine? What's our assistant coach?
Oh, Rob Valentino. Yeah,
Valentino. I feel like
he did much better.
Yes, I think he got
smaller,
us going.
Smaller sample size.
Smaller sample, but we were on a winning streak when Pineda took over.
Oh, yeah, that's a great point. So that,
yes.
So I see what you're doing there because that's another way to think. You know, was it?
He
really
rode the coattails of exactly.
Because I'm so glad you brought that up. I really hadn't thought about it that way this year, but last year I do remember saying to myself, like, what a start for someone to come into of like, oh, the interim coach just won 3 straight games.
Yep.
And then I think also just either didn't lose or only lost 1 in his like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 games in charge.
Yeah.
And so, but I do remember they ended on a 3-game win streak specifically. So like, here's 9 free points for you to start your career with.
Yeah, and I think he did a lot to help with the culture of the team last year when it was like just in a horrible place. And I don't know, part of me now thinks, what if he was the reason for the catalyst and it's actually not Pineda? And maybe the new person will think that way too. I don't know if we hire Valentino because we already screwed that up once, missing that one.
I feel like with a new director, president of operations or whatever, then you'll find somebody wanting to bring in a new coach, their own guy, make their mark or whatever. So hopefully it's somebody that can make the transition well, and we can't have a collapse like this next season.
No. Absolutely not.
Speaking of collapses, how about those New York Mets?
Let's go. Oh,
somebody may have said early on in the history of Blurst that the Mets were prone to collapsing.
To Met.
The Mets were prone to Met.
To Met. They are prone to Met. The Braves are now 1 game back. We have won 5 straight after a disappointing series with the Cardinals last week and losing the first game to the Rockies in that series. Yeah, we won 5 straight. We swept the Marlins. While the Mets were playing the Nationals this past weekend, who are unequivocally the worst team in baseball, they lost 2 out of 3 to the Nationals.
My goodness.
And now we sit 1 game back. And I got to say, it is so sweet that that's how we gained ground, that we're both playing bad teams. Because all the Mets do is just complain all day about how easy our schedule is. The remaining schedule for the Mets is the easiest in baseball from this point on. We're like 26th or something. So we have an extremely easy schedule as well. But they just can't use that as an excuse.
No.
They just want to make an excuse for every little thing that happens in their franchise. Oh, no, like Scherzer got hurt, whatever. Dude, it happens. It happens.
Yeah, we're starting 2 rookies.
Good teams find ways to make the playoffs, no matter what.
Yes.
We've been playing without Ozzy for 2 months.
Also, the thing that, to that point, and these fans, we don't have to worry about them, but I did want to bring them up a little bit. Especially since I do see this one guy on SB Nation a lot who's a big Phillies fan. And man, he's been talking a lot of crap about exactly what we were just saying. The Braves only beating bad teams. And goodness, it's just been satisfying seeing him less and less on Twitter because the Phillies, I think they're 11 and a half, 12 back right now, maybe.
11
They
and
have
a half of
just,
us.
yeah, they have just completely just fallen off the radar in a team that I think is pretty clear we don't have to worry about.
And
Yeah, they may not make playoffs anymore.
Yeah, which is wild.
the thing is, you have to win the games you're supposed to win, and then the other games against other good teams, those are a toss-up. And
Right.
it does not matter how you make the playoffs. If you make the playoffs, you have a chance.
Yes.
And I think I read something like last year against teams with winning records, we were like 30 and 36 or something like that going into the playoffs last year, and we won the World Series. So it
Yes.
it does not
It
matter.
doesn't matter. No, and
No.
the funny part too is the Mets literally just played the worst team in
Yeah.
all of the National League, and they lost 2 games to them. And I was gonna say leading into this weekend, I was getting kind of annoyed because they would just quit. They wouldn't quit mirroring us. If we won, they won. If we lost, they lost. It just kept happening, and then
It was like
finally
2
we
weeks
broke
of that,
through.
yeah.
Yeah, it was wild.
Finally broke through on Saturday night, and it felt so good. And then Sunday as well. I was like, wow, like you're scared if you're a Mets fan right now. You don't like that.
They've been
gotta be
scared.
terrified.
They have
Yeah.
been scared since that guy at the beginning of June said the race was
Called
over.
the race
They
is
have
over.
been scared. And deep down, the players have been scared for the Mets. I am convinced of it because they know what the culture is there. There have been players there that have been there before Steve Cohen bought the team, and they know deep down that they're losers. That's just what it
They're
is.
losers.
And so I got to point back out, and we got to look back
losers.
to the series where we took 3 out of 4 against the Mets when they came down to Truist a couple weeks ago, and how important that was.
Oh
Just-
yeah.
We talked about it then, and I'll say it again now. Applying that little bit of pressure. They had a 7.5 game lead or something like that going into that series, and we cut it down. And just applying that little bit of pressure will just cause a team to implode like the Mets. So, hopefully we see that. You apply a little bit of pressure and they lose these games to the Nats. Who knows what's going on in the clubhouse now? They're getting nervous. And, we'll see if a guy like Buck Showalter can keep the squad together and prevent a total collapse. They're going to make the playoffs. It would be very hard for them to miss the playoffs at this point. So, it may be something like where we do see them, we do play them in the playoffs. And honestly, I would be happy for that opportunity because we have studs that come out of nowhere, like Kyle Wright and Spencer Strider, who set the Braves single game strikeout record with 16 strikeouts in 8 innings.
That's crazy.
That's incredible.
We're talking
the
about
only-
the franchise of Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, John Smoltz,
Yeah.
Warren Spahn.
Warren Spahn. Like,
Phil
oh my,
Negro.
that's not
did
normal.
Warren Spahn? Who did he
A
pitch
rookie
for? Was
should
it
not be able to
Atlanta?
do that.
No, Warren Spahn I think pitched for both, if not just.
So Warren
Boston, I
Spahn
think.
actually has the all-time record, I think,
Yeah.
for the franchise.
Yes, but you
but
know
he
how
did it. Yeah, he did it in
he
like
did it in 15
innings. Yeah,
He pitched a 15 inning game.
yeah.
We can't
So-
compare that.
You
No.
can't. No, you can't. It took him 15 innings to do. Yeah, to
I
get
think the
18.
Braves
I
would
think
get
it's 18
sued for
strikeouts.
like endangering an employee if we were to do that.
Yeah, could you imagine somebody going 15 innings at today's age?
Oh,
No.
The crazy part is we've been talking about this. Max
Strider
Fried.
did go 8 that game, I think.
Yeah, he did 8. Yeah, and he went only. I think it was only 106 pitches, 107 pitches.
Yeah,
but
it was 106, I think.
That's also
We-
super impressive because
It is.
like strikeout pitchers typically get a higher pitch count early
Yes.
in the games.
Right.
But he's just going straight at these guys and they can't touch him.
Well, we were talking about Max Fried, how he's an ace, and then we're talking about Kyle Wright, how he's becoming an ace. But man, like Strider may be the best of the 3.
I actually heard a lot of talk on 99 the game of people saying, come playoff time, is Strider actually going to be your number 2 behind Fried instead of Kyle Wright?
I think he has to be.
Yeah.
Really?
I
You
think
he has to be?
I mean, yeah.
Kyle Wright's been lights out too,
dude,
though.
he
Strider,
has, but-
Strider is a top 5 pitcher in baseball.
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
Top
I think you're
5.
right.
That's
Yeah.
insane. Like out of we didn't know
Out
who
of-
this guy was until
No,
spring training.
He's
this
a
yeah.
year.
rookie.
Also,
I don't know how we're doing it.
I think
I love
him
it.
and Michael Harris are also at the point to where, and they were talking about this too. We are definitely going to finish 1-2 in the rookie voting, but
Yeah.
there's a chance they might actually split the Rookie of the Year trophy, which they have done before.
They might have to.
I would
They
love
may
that.
literally have.
It's
to
crazy.
split the
But yeah,
trophy.
obviously setting this record is like a huge it's a huge trophy in itself, and
It
like
is.
that's gonna propel Strider to a lot more votes probably.
I think I saw strikeouts wise. Sorry, I just want to throw this in here with
Yeah.
what you were saying earlier. Was the last person to have more strikeouts in less innings than Spencer Strider was like Chris Sale. And first of all, if you want to compare him to someone, that's a perfect person to compare him to right there. But it was like also Chris Sale like 5 or 6 years ago. Also.
Yeah, it was. So the stat was if Strider reaches 200 strikeouts for the year, he'll be the second pitcher to reach 200 strikeouts in less than 150 innings. And he'll do it. Not only will he do it in less innings than Chris Sale did it, but Chris Sale is also not a rookie when he did it. Chris Sale was well into his career.
Yes, that's a great point.
I mean, essentially, everybody's talking about how we're in the race for DeGrom this offseason. We might just have a DeGrom pitcher on our team right now out of nowhere. And we're paying him next to nothing.
And we can still get DeGrom. I'm down to have
it could happen.
I want to ask you both this question. If that's the case and you have to go Fried, Strider, Wright, no matter what, where does Charlie Morton fit into that in the playoffs? So, or maybe even
Charlie's your long relief guy, right? In the playoffs?
That's what I was going to ask.
No, I don't think so. So the way the playoffs are set up this year with the extra round is that like the time between games is shorter. So like the series aren't spaced out. And so like if we don't win the division, we're playing in like the wild card series or whatever, then, hopefully we only play 2 games. We just win both. But if we do play 3, then that would lead to like a short turnaround time. And also like we would have Morton as our 4th. And then I guess I would guess at that point we'd have enough time to flip the rotation after 1 game.
So then the question would be, does Oda Rizzi go to the bullpen?
Yes.
Yeah, I would assume. I mean, he would probably be the last ditch starter.
Yeah.
Right.
Although like if Bryce Elder keeps coming up in these situations and like because he 2 starts ago he had like 10 strikeouts in 6 innings and he pitched 6 innings again with like I think 6 more strikeouts, didn't give up any earned. So I mean,
he's pretty good.
I don't know, man. We just keep
pretty good.
They just keep coming out of the woodwork. So
and what happens if Soroka comes back and like?
Oh, that's another thing.
He also is playing well in AAA now.
Yeah. Get him back for the playoff roster.
Yes, it's ridiculous. I just think about next year starting pitching. Like you just bring Soroka up and say, what if Bryce Elder and Soroka both just become 4 or 5, and then like that's your. I don't know. It'd be incredible.
We can talk about this team all day, and just like it just makes me smile of how much depth we have.
True.
Yeah.
And like I don't know, it just feels like no one talks about that. Everybody's like, "Oh, they have like the worst farm system in baseball." It's because every one of our prospects, everybody's paying out.
For the
Everybody's
big
in the
team.
majors.
Everyone's in the majors now,
and they're all on the team for 10 years. We don't need the farm.
So speaking of the rookie of the year race between Strider and Michael Harris. Michael Harris did win the August Rookie of the Month. Yep. So that's his second.
Yes,
so he'll stick that in his back pocket. And it's also of note that like honestly, Vaughn Grissom is starting to get some respect in that regard too, just because of his WAR over the short amount of time. Like he's already like I think top 5 in rookies in WAR or something.
Oh, did y'all see? Well, I think it was one of y'all that sent it to me too. But that clip when someone asked. What was it? Oh no, it was a TikTok thing I saw actually. And this is me. I'm not actually trying to say there's anything here, but I did think it was funny.
Such a zoomer.
Yes, I know. But it was like who the Braves. It was they were going around asking who they thought was the funniest on the team, and when they went to Dansby was like, I would say Vaughn, but I don't want to give him any credit. So he said somebody else, and I was like, does he feel a little bit of heat back there when Ozzy comes back? And of course I'm kidding.
Yeah. But the good news is like I don't think he does feel heat though. Like I think
no, a good leader wouldn't. I don't think.
Right. I don't think he shouldn't.
He shouldn't. No. Yeah.
But I also think that
well, they like Vaughn Grissom. A lot of people have said that he's the funniest on the team.
So much, but I think also as a player, more so along the lines of what we were talking about a couple weeks ago is probably bound to happen. Him going to left field or something like that, but because if he stays like this, you got to keep him in the lineup.
There's also footage of Eric Young, our first base / outfielders coach, working with Vaughn and old Bill Contreras in the outfield this past
there we go.
weekend,
Very interesting.
Pregame. So Vaughn's getting his work in, and like that's the kind of stuff that you need to
They'll
show
keep his
your
bat in
team
the
that you
lineup.
are willing to do.
Yeah.
If you are hitting the ball, you are going to play. That's
Yes.
that's the name of the game. That's especially as elite stuff that pitchers have these days.
Yep.
So we just got to have the best lineup together. And, Ozzy's been in the minors for about a week now. And so he's on the way back. And
it's crazy.
So that'll be a defensive upgrade at
Yes.
second. And then we're looking at one of the deepest rotations and one of the deepest lineups going into the playoffs.
Gosh.
That's exactly where you want to be. And now something else that comes to mind now too is that because of these rookies that are coming up and signing Michael Harris to a long-term contract and just the success these young guys are having and how little their salaries will affect our cap. Does that mean we re-sign Dansby now? Because now I'm rethinking it.
That's a great question.
It's a different equation now.
It is.
I just feel like they've set the limit. I mean, we can get more into this, but I feel like they set the limit on how much they're willing to spend, which is around that 21 million mark. And if Dansby's willing to take it, I'm sure they re-sign him. I'm sure they don't mind it. But he's been slumping recently. He's been kind of showing his Dansby regression. I don't think he'll go back down to what he's been doing. But I don't know. The Braves are a value kind of purchase kind of team, and I don't know if they're going to. Yeah. I don't know.
I just thought that was a interesting twist.
We can afford him though.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is we have the money, especially if we keep performing.
But what if they rather get Judge and then just put Grissom at shortstop? You know what I mean? It really depends. If Dansby doesn't take a contract that's team friendly, in the 21, 22, below 25 million range, I think they will actually weigh their options and look to if we're going to spend this money anyways, we might as well spend it on Aaron Judge.
If you're Dansby, do you take a team-friendly option knowing that the team is sitting on so many team-friendly deals, basically?
Yeah, because you win infinite world championships, hopefully.
It's just tough because I don't know where I know he wants to win. I know he loves being here. But you can't fault him for being nope, I'm going to take my one chance in my career, for sure chance, to get absolutely paid.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't fault him at all. I wouldn't feel – I would wish him well.
Honestly, he might do Freddie Freeman, obviously we all know how that played out, but the only teams that were ever in consideration for him were contenders. It was the Yankees and the Dodgers are really the two other teams
That's
that were
true.
in it. And so I mean, if you're weighing it in that regard, and then another contender offers you more money, I don't know. Me personally, I understand if somebody wants to take more money. I'm not going to judge them for that at all. Because that's exactly what I do every year. So,
you'll leave us for another podcast that offers you more money.
Yeah, exactly. Hayden's jumping around.
We'll have to get into that another time.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Speaking of the Braves, Kinley did blow another save this week. Another interesting thing, a week after we walked in the winning run to lose the game versus Cardinals, the Marlins walked in our winning run against them on Saturday. So that's kind of interesting coincidence. So a little bit more bullpen woes. I think, it's okay. I'm not super concerned.
Iglesias has been lights out.
Iglesias has been good. Jesse Chavez back on the Braves.
Yes, you called that, by the way, Hayden.
So well.
I don't know if you remember. You called it in a slightly different way, but a few weeks ago, back during the trade deadline, we were talking about him not playing so well where he went, and you were like, maybe that's just
he's trying to get back on the Braves.
He's just gonna get cut so AA can sign him again.
It's crazy. I mean, I don't know what. Maybe it's he just feels comfortable pitching in certain environments. I know that's the case for certain hitters in certain ballparks. I think you're seeing that with Albert Pujols with his resurgence in power.
He should have never left St. Louis.
But
that's crazy,
maybe he just feels comfortable pitching in Atlanta because if you look at his ERA on the Cubs, which is where he started the year, in Atlanta and in
the Angels,
LA, it's insane. He's got a 3 ERA versus a 7 everywhere else. So I mean. And I trust him. I haven't seen him pitch bad in the Braves uniform this year.
No,
he never pitches bad wearing the Braves uniform.
So, I mean, my 1 second take on the bullpen is we have guys, we're deep. We need to pitch where the matchups make sense, not just maybe locked in as a closer. But, I think we got to trust Snit at this point too.
Yep.
And he's working – right now, he's working out what he wants to do with the bullpen in the playoffs, and he's letting the guys play out.
They're basically trying to earn it. Yeah.
I mean, he showed us last year exactly what he plans on doing. He wants to have his lineup of 4 or 5 guys that he's going to go turn to game after game.
Yeah.
So you want to be on that short list.
Before we move on, I will say this: Will Smith last year was bad. he was bad this time of the year, and he goes to have a historical run in the playoffs. So Snit's going to run his guys who he believes is going to get us there, and I trust Snit. Like last year, everyone said that Will Smith shouldn't be the closer, and then Will Smith was the most dominant closer. Maybe not the most dominant, but one of the most dominant closers we've seen.
He was perfect. He was perfect in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You can't ask for any more. So
Nope.
You literally can't. Yeah. So that's I think that's all I got here on the Bravos. Hopefully we keep that momentum going this week.
Yes.
And hopefully maybe those Falcons can take a little momentum from the Braves.
Oh, playoffs.
Yes. But also one little thing I just want to put on the end of that Braves seg. You're talking about players feeling comfortable in places. We go play in Oakland, I believe, starting tomorrow. So maybe Matt Olson will be nice. Not that he's been doing poorly at all, but it'd be nice to see him rack a couple more grand slams up there and in the Bay Area.
Yeah. Any of you listeners in Oakland, go sit out in right field. I'm sure there's not many people that will be at the game.
You probably like $5 for a ticket too.
Yes.
Yeah. How about your local team? Yeah.
Let's move. So Blake, what do you got for us?
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about the Falcons. Football starts this week, guys. Thursday night football. Fantasy starts this week. This is it. This is God, this is the best time of the year. It really is. This is the beginning of it, and it goes through February. And the best time of the year ends early or later, depending on how good your team does. So
very true.
Whether it be fantasy or real life. And so for us, the Falcons, how's it going to be this year, guys? Preseason is over. What did y'all think about after the 3 preseason games? What were your takeaways?
I mean, for me, it was promising is not the right word, but it would be hopeful. Like, they weren't as bad as I thought they were going to be.
I'll take that. Yeah. What about you, Hayden?
Like what we're looking to, like as an
just
outcome?
So just general takeaways, like watching them play.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I stick by that. I thought the offense has looked good, especially with the first and second teams.
Yeah.
And better than expected. And the game plan and the scheming is really getting guys open in space, and that's all you can do. And then you got to let them perform after that. Yeah. So I mean, maybe I've been a bit harsh on old Art, but we'll let that play out.
Yeah, I want to just also echo that not only does the scheming look good, it's that I actually think we have better players too playing in these positions than we did last year. I mean, our wide receiver core last year, our best receiver,
Calvin Ridley.
Well, Calvin Ridley for 4 games or however long that was, and then we had Russell. What's his name? Russell Gage. Russell Gage, yeah.
Russell Gage, yeah, but I hate that we lost him.
Yeah, I hate that we lost him too, but he shouldn't have been your starting extra wide. He's a small guy. He's a slot receiver. And then you had Zacchaeus. So, we've really upgraded at all the receiving positions. I think our running back room is much stronger than last year. Like last year, we had Quadri Allison as one of our handful of running backs, and he didn't even make our team this year. He didn't even make the practice squad either. Some other team actually picked him up. We signed Caleb Huntley. So I just think overall the offensive players just look better, and I trust our offensive line a little bit more too. Definitely not having McGarry starting. So, I just want to.
After saying that, is everybody willing to stick by their projections that we made a couple weeks ago?
Oh yeah, big time.
So what did we end up at, Aaron? 5
and 12.
Yeah,
which felt like I was somehow robbed of 3 and 14. I don't know how. I went through it and it all made sense, but then I was like 5 and 12 seems like a lot of wins for this team.
What do
you still feel like that though?
Yes.
You still think 5's a lot of wins?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
But there are opportunities there. In the way that we went through the schedule, there are opportunities, especially week 1. That's a huge opportunity.
Yeah, you have to.
That's a game that we said that they would not win.
Let me bring up the schedule real quick.
Take that for what it is, but
that's fair.
The Saints are a beatable team.
No, I think you're 100% right where you said look at our opportunities and look who we play. Like we played the Browns without Deshaun Watson. We have a nice easy stretch where we played the Panthers into the Bears into the Commanders into the Steelers back into the Saints. Like we have some easy stretches. So if you gain momentum and you start winning, I could see us maybe winning more than what y'all projected. I still feel good about 7 and 10. Like I think here's my biggest takeaway watching the Falcons this preseason was I felt like the depth, and I think I mentioned this last week, the depth we have is just so much better than years past. And it's not that our offensive talent is not good, or what am I trying to say? Our first string talent is not good, so our second string looks like the same. I just think we have more second string talent that can actually start or get playing time, at least for us or other teams around the league. And we haven't had that in years past. We just haven't. We've been really top heavy. And it always shows whenever an injury happens, then like no one replace them ever. Like, and that
Right.
it's kind of been the downfall for the Falcons, at least in the Dan Quinn era. And I mean, it's downfall for any team that's struggling. But I was really surprised with the depth we had. I really thought the first and second units for both the offense and defense looked pretty good. I have the depth chart here. Some noticeable things was feel the burn. Jared Bernhardt did make the roster, which was very exciting. I think there's a lot of pundits predicting him to not make the roster because we didn't want to keep that many receivers, but you can't let him touch your practice squad because someone's going to poach him. Right. He was just so explosive in the preseason.
He was.
I think he's a former lacrosse player. He won the Heisman equivalent of lacrosse playing in Maryland.
Right.
And then we signed him as an undrafted free agent. And I think he's played himself onto the team. And I think, dude, he just gives me like the Edelman vibes where it's like what I'm trying to say about him. He's a receiver who wasn't a receiver in college, but now
Chris Hogan.
Did Chris Hogan also play quarterback?
Oh, he played lacrosse.
Oh, Chris Hogan played lacrosse.
There you go.
There is the direct comparison.
Yes, we love that. And Chris Hogan was good for a little bit.
And he was good for a little bit. And I think Bernhardt's also going to be, I think he's going to be good. I think he's a player they're going to have some special packages for to give him the ball. I mean, he's kind of clutch. I will notice, too, that all these green highlighted players on the special package are rookies that made the team. We had 12 rookies make the team out of 53. So, like, we have a young team.
Is that because we had a lot of holes, or is it because we did good at picking up a few extra rookies?
Well, a little bit of both.
Hopefully both.
Timmy Horn, Nate Landman, D'Angelo Malone, Jared Bernhardt were all like people we picked up off of undrafted free agency. So is that what it is? Like when they don't get drafted?
Yes.
So yeah, we picked all of them up off those waivers, and they end up making the roster. So it's pretty good scouting if you can get guys that you didn't even draft. Drake London did practice today, so that's great going into Sunday. Drake London's back at practice. Good to hear. What else was there noticeable? Justin Shaper did not make the team, but he did get signed for the practice squad. John Fitzpatrick did make the team, but he's on IR right now. So
I also saw, speaking of, they put Jalen Mayfield, Isaiah Oliver, and Deion Jones on IR as well.
Yeah, which the two surprising ones are those was Oliver and Deion Jones. Oliver, he was hurt last year, and I think they're giving him more time to come back. And I think
that's an actual injured.
Well, he played though. He played in the last preseason game. Him and Deion Jones both did, but I think you're right. They're giving him more time to recover.
But what I'm saying is, I think that Deion Jones has nothing to do with him being placed. Has nothing.
Yes,
to do with
no, and I think you're right. I think they're actually So here's something that made me upset about 99 the game. They're like, why don't they just release him? Like they already have the cap, like the highest salary cap of all time, like dead cap hit. Why don't you just release him? It's because you don't want a team like New Orleans to pick him up for free. Like that's why you don't release them. There's a lot of teams out there who would.
But they want something for him.
Yes.
So I think they're just going to use this time to try to make a deal in the early part of the season.
I mean, because a linebacker is guaranteed to get hurt somewhere, and it could be for the Falcons. So like, I mean, he's a $20 million player. He's going to end up playing somewhere. I 100% agree. They're keeping him for that reason on the IR. And I think the cool part too about Isaiah Oliver being on IR is that I don't feel uncomfortable having him there because like I was talking about the depth, we have both Mike Ford and D Alford, who I believe are very capable of also starting in the nickel. So super excited about that. Something else to look at is we did sign what's the name? Tyler Vabril? Yes, Tyler Vabril. The coach for the Titans' son, he's on our practice squad as well. Oh, so Vrabel. He's Vrabel. Yeah, Mike Vrabel. Is that his name? Mike?
Yes. Yeah.
So we have a son, Tyler Vrabel, which is really cool. I really like that. He was from, I think he played for Stanford or something like that, but he's a tackle that didn't get drafted.
What is it called when you hire people?
Nepotism, Hayden.
Yeah. If there's one thing Arthur Smith is very fond of, nepotism.
He's on the practice
squad.
Being
a billionaire.
That is a
so of course he's going to continue that. So nepotism. Word of the day.
Yeah.
Well, Tyler did it.
Vrabel was probably like, all right, you know what? I'm cool. He didn't make an NFL team. You know, the boys is going to have to learn from this. And then he gets a call from Art, and he's like, Vrabes, buddy.
Braves, buddy.
I heard your son didn't make a team. And let me teach you a little something that my daddy taught me. Something we can do. All right.
Oh, my gosh. No. All right. So, real quick, were y'all surprised about anyone who made the team?
Honestly, no. I would say that to me, the surprising – well, maybe not surprising. And I guess technically he made the team, but putting Jalen Mayfield on injury reserve to me was just like I feel bad for him, honestly.
Yeah.
How hurt is he? Is it a real injured reserve?
Yeah, he has
or
back.
Like, oh, he's tweaked.
He has back spasms. He hasn't been playing through much of training camp because of the back spasms.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I'm not to scoff at back spasms, but it's like to me, if he's starting or if he had panned out the way he should have panned out, then if he has back spasm, he's not going to be on the IR though.
Yeah, I would much rather see him get cut, but they must believe something in him because I'm like, if we're going to be about the best player stays and best player plays, then cut him because he wasn't the best player.
He was so even bad. The second best. The reason I said I feel bad about him a little bit is because he never played guard.
Never.
He was a tackle, and he was a good tackle at Michigan, but they have never put him at tackle at the Falcons, and they obviously expect versatility from professional offensive linemen.
Yep.
And yeah, it's difficult, but it's a difficult league. They're going to ask you to do difficult things, and so I don't really feel too sorry for him. But I do think he's been slightly hard done by that.
I agree. And I think that's why they're giving the benefit of the doubt and keeping him IR right now. Right. I've heard from some pundits that Justin Schaefer, even though he made practice squad, may get called up to the roster before the end of the season. Like he's been playing well. And that's why they wanted to keep him on the practice squad because he can be a potential player to plug in. I also heard that Caleb McGarry might actually play like, I don't know if he'd want to come back to play for us again, but he actually might play himself into a contract. Like he's had a great mini camp, great training camp, great preseason. Which is exciting. I mean, if we can run on the right side, that would be huge for the team.
Right.
Do y'all believe there's any position we're going to sign before Sunday? Any more depth?
I mean, I think the offensive line, and then also, well, no, maybe I'm just going to stay with offensive line.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Maybe a defensive tackle.
Yeah, we did sign Abdullah Anderson, who is played for San Francisco last year. And he played for us all preseason. We cut him and then we re-signed him. We just had to move players around. Yeah, it's so weird how they manipulate the roster, but it's just based on priority waiver and who they think they can get and not get.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you though. I know they've been trying out some long snappers because they're not sold on ours, which is like, come on, guys. It's the long snapper by now, but yeah,
you should have a long snap.
But offensive line, I agree, is probably on the point. And if Dominic Sue doesn't sign with anyone, I'd like to bring him in here.
Wow, but has he not signed?
He hasn't signed with anyone yet.
He's a real clubhouse guy, somebody you want around.
Yeah, that's when you're already dealing with somebody like Deion Jones, just an absolute sunflower in the locker room. Why don't we just bring another Daisy along there with him?
So here's all right, you're right. I'll stop. Here's a fun fact, though. The Falcons haven't won their first game of the season since 2017.
I don't know if that's fun, but
it's not fun, but it's a fun fact. Like it's been that long. It's crazy. That's the year we went to Super Bowl.
Oh wow, yeah.
Was that
okay? Wow. Hey,
I love the evolution of your fun facts though, because that was more fun, I think.
Yeah, than the tall high. Yeah, it's a fun fact. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, a thumbs up on that one, buddy.
Yeah, that last one. But also, I love I feel like I don't think you were necessarily, but I love the thing we could spin here of like a statistic that would be like the last time the Falcons won their opening game, the last time the Falcons were 1-0.
Yeah, right.
They went to the Super Bowl. I mean, just a little. If we beat the Saints, I think
it makes you think.
Yeah,
it makes you
a good omen.
It is.
We don't see them lose week 1. We might not ever.
They may never lose. Yeah.
Boom.
I could see Mario going down and they still not lose because Desmond takes over and goes Super Saiyan.
Oh wow, you can see that.
I can see
is the word you use. Okay,
I envision it right here, man. I'm like a prophet. Yeah, man.
Good.
Yeah. So, we kind of said this, but have your opinions changed on this first game, Aaron? What if you had to find the final score, Aaron? What would you say
of the Saints game?
Yeah.
That actually is that is a tough question because
let me also remind you,
we haven't seen anything yet.
The Saints had their first round pick for the Saints is actually he's not even starting. He's now their second string tackle or guard. He got in three fights during training camp with his
it was that guy. I didn't know he was the first.
Yeah, he was our first pick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, still though, I don't know. I don't think the Saints will be the Saints that we know and hate. But I still think they beat us somewhere along the lines of like, I'm Blake, you're not gonna like this. It's gonna be like 17-12. I'm gonna give a
You really
weird
think
score.
Are you really think we're gonna
17 to
points against
4
them?
field
12.
goals.
Yeah, 4 field
Four
goals.
field goals.
Yeah, 17 to 12. I'm
I,
sticking by that.
I don't like that. You're right.
No, what
Uh,
was the question you asked about the defense though?
What?
I thought you said something about. Do you think
I
the
said
defense?
you only think we'll score 12 against their defense?
Real
Oh,
quick,
against
while
their
we're talking
defense.
about 4 field goals and weird scoring, I was watching the UGA game at a bar in Fort Collins, Colorado, which is the UGA bar / Iowa. And so
Yes.
Iowa's game was wrapping up, and I was like, man, they're only beating South Dakota State 7-3. Wow, that's a little embarrassing. And then Aaron
Yes.
says, do y'all see that Iowa has scored 7 points, but not on a touchdown? It was
Yeah.
two safeties and a field goal.
It
And I
was
was
so
like,
beautiful.
okay, that's why these fans look pretty pissed right now.
Yes.
That
And I think
tracks.
that was the final score. I think they beat them 7-3.
Yeah,
without
it's
scoring
tough.
a touchdown.
Tough.
2 safeties?
People don't
Two
even live in South
safeties.
Dakota.
Yeah. Who are you
Okay.
playing against? All right. But
Wow.
yes.
Back to the Falcons. Yeah, I mean, I honestly, this is a coin flip, and the reason as we went through the schedule that I was like, oh, we're gonna win this game is one, because I didn't see us winning the first game of the season. Two, I thought we would win 5 games on the season, so it's like you gotta take and add away.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I honestly think it's a toss up. It could go either way, and I don't really feel like I know enough about any NFL team yet before the season starts to make a scoring prediction. I don't know. I wonder what the line is.
Agreed. I think it really matters on how our defense plays. Like,
Question. I'll look that up.
I'm not sold on Jameis Winston as a winning quarterback. Like, I'm just not. So I think our
Okay, but
defense.
They did look really good last year with him at quarterback.
When he
like-
played,
Yeah. Well, didn't they
Yeah.
go like 4-0 with him at quarterback?
I'm not sure.
Anyway, go ahead. I just want to
no.
point that
My
out.
point is this: is that he never won for the Buccaneers. I'm not sold on him, and he had great offensive talent the whole time he was there. I'm just not sold on him leading a team. He's high turnover tendencies. He throws a lot of interceptions. So I think if we're going to win that game, it's because our defense shows up and shells out.
Right.
And I can see that happening. I mean, Kamara is going to be. It's how we stop the run. If we stop the run, we win. If we don't stop the run, we're going to lose that game.
You just gotta
So
watch
Kurt-
out for Kamara, because he'll punch you right in the mouth.
Oh, there it is. Shout out Levi's. Got him on his fantasy team.
Yeah, Levi, come on, no more.
How do you sold a guy and just knock? Yeah.
But I will say the money line is Saints 3.5. Saints minus 3.5.
Right, and the Falcons are a home team. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It'll be close. I mean, that's what you.
That tracks with what I said a little bit. That's kind of a toss up, especially week 1.
Right.
You don't really know what any team is yet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you know it's close to a 17-12 score. So
yeah, I feel
Makes
fine.
sense.
I feel fine. I feel fine saying it's a toss up. I still would like. I think we'd all like to see the Falcons win, and I mean, I don't know. I think the Falcons do win, but I think it's a toss up. I assume
Okay.
it's close. Yeah.
all right, but let's lock it in right here. We got L from me, L from Hayden. More close to a toss up though.
Yeah, I'll say the Falcons.
I'll call it.
Not that that's a
Within-
non-answer. I just I don't feel like I've seen enough. Like
Yeah,
you
I
guys have
got
done
you.
more research than me and watched more than me, so I'm not gonna make it.
Yeah, I bet the Falcons win like 18.
Blake's the Falcons.
Yeah,
20
really
24-17?
calculate the score, Blake.
Blake is a Falcon.
24-17.
Aaron's a Falcon.
That's
We'll
right.
just have to tune in and see.
Oh,
Yeah, bold predictions for the season. Anyone got one?
bold.
How bold we talking crazy?
Let me do this. Let me go ahead and pre-eat some humble pie here. My
Yeah.
bold prediction is going to be that Drake London turns out to be a lot better than I thought he was going to be, and that I'll have to say I was wrong on that draft pick.
I would love that.
Crow.
Yeah, I'm sure you would, Blake.
I would.
I would.
I would. It feels nice.
Yeah, I bet.
I like Kyle Pitts scored some touchdowns too. That feels
Oh
good,
God!
too.
Don't get too hasty. We don't want
Is there a result this season that would get Arthur Smith fired?
to 2-15, maybe.
Yeah,
But I don't even know
think
if that
so.
would get him fired though.
It's
I
so
don't-
early in his tenure still, so that's what.
Right.
It
that's why
depends
I
what
asked.
happens. If Marcus Mariota plays the whole season and he just refuses to start the other guy, like it depends what happens. But if everything goes according to where, like, I don't think he gets fired.
I don't think he gets fired, even if they go 0-17. Really, I mean,
Yeah.
I know I said 2-15 just a second ago, but I really don't get that vibe at all.
I
The way
mean,
they
who
looked
win?
in the preseason, just the first team offense, I wouldn't see that bad of a result happening. I would say a bold prediction, like maybe by the third game, Ritter's playing. I think that would
That'd be cool.
I think that would be a very favorable outcome for long-term success of the Falcons. You get a long look at what he's got.
Right.
I mean, then you can try to plan around that. And like, if he's good, and if Drake London he turns into something, then you're looking at a pretty solid offense. Because Cordero still got some moves about him. The Algier has looked good in the preseason as well.
He has.
So if your offense is moving the ball, then that can put some pressure on the other team. So I'd say that's a bold prediction from me.
I like it. My bold prediction is that our offense and defense will both finish in the top half of the league.
Wow, that is bold.
Yeah. So it could be 16.
I'm actually going to write
That
these bold
is
predictions
too
down.
bold.
Yes, too bold indeed.
It is bold. It is really bold. But the thing is, I mean, I think the one less likely to happen would be the offense, probably, because I'm actually pretty high on the defense. I think that defense will be better, but we'll see. It's going to be it'll come down to the wire. That's my bold prediction. And if we do play like that, that means we'll probably be in the playoff hunt through December, like up to December.
Okay. Like I said, I'm gonna write these bold predictions down.
Yeah,
we're gonna keep them going. But yeah, bold indeed, though, Blake. I'm not laughing at it. I like the optimism.
it's bold. Yeah, top
bold.
half. That's 16. I feel like that's not overly optimistic, but it does put us in like a playoff contention point. So
right.
Yeah, that'd be
mine is gonna be Drake
case.
London.
Best case scenario. There's an easy stretch there at the second third of the season there.
It's really how well we play against the good teams. Like, I mean, that comes down to where we finish. Like, if we get pummeled by the Rams and stuff, then that prediction goes out of the water.
And I think you said it before too. It's how a team performs in close games. If you can win a close game, then you go from winning 3 games to winning 7 games, and that's kind of like the Lions last year. They put a bunch of close games. It just could not come out on the right side.
And that was the opposite of the Falcons. We won a lot of close games.
Yeah.
We've done that a lot, though. Like, Matt Ryan era was littered with us having comeback wins.
That's why he was called Matty Ice, man.
Yeah.
Matty Rice.
Yeah, natural ice. Hayden, yours was Ritter starts by week 3. Is that what you said?
He's starting week 3.
Okay. All right.
I like that. That's pretty cool. I mean, here's the thing: is there's going to be if Mariota plays bad, there's going to be a demand for him to play.
All I know is the clips I saw from the preseason is he was taking some licks already. Like, he wasn't
Mariota.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Blake said that early on too. Is that he wasn't getting down how you typically see a quarterback doing.
He said he just wanted to take a hit, is what he said after the first preseason game, like just to feel it again. And I was like, well, you took a couple. You took a couple
just to feel something.
Yeah. Send him to the team therapist after the game.
But so the Falcons aren't the only thing that's starting this weekend. Fantasy football also starting this weekend. So I just wanted to finish this football segment off with just asking y'all, how are y'all feeling going to week 1?
I'm feeling great.
Aaron and I are actually head to head.
Yeah.
Oh, you're head to head.
We're head to head week 1. We got a house divided here.
Oh, wow.
So Aaron is projected for the most points in the league, while I'm projected for the least points. We've discussed a little bit of my drafting woes. I've tried to make some moves. It hasn't really panned out. So I'm just kind of sticking, I think, at this point. But I'll stick by that. My roster last year, the talent that I had on it, and like the names on it, I should have been better. So yes. I'm not that concerned really with my roster. I don't know if that's
how
dumb.
I felt about my team.
No, I think you have a lot of high upside. It just matters whether it pans out or not. And I think you have safer upside than I've had in the past, where I'm like, oh, I hope 4 of these rookie wide receivers break through this year. So
your lucky ass normally happens though.
Well, if you get 5 of them, at least 1 or 2 should pan out if you did
it's a game of numbers.
It is a game of numbers.
But they've limited how many of positions I can hold this year. So my lucky ass can't be as lucky. You say good, but I will say this for anyone who's tried to trade in our league this year, trading is difficult. Like, it's hard. Matching the roster limits or the position limits with another team makes it where trading just 1v1 trading is going to be very hard. You're going to almost always need a third team to come in there unless you just have like a perfect,
like a straight swap.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just me hard.
Yeah. It'll end up.
What was that stupid trade you and Brady made, Blake?
Oh,
I died laughing. It literally made my day when I saw it.
So I traded him Trevor Lawrence and Kenneth Gainwell for Mac Jones, and Sky Moore.
Yes.
So I
That is
didn't really,
awesome.
and I went on to drop Mac Jones. I really
Oh my
didn't
God.
need him, but Sky Moore has high upside. He could be like, he's the number 2 wide receiver there in Kansas City. So I was like, there's my rookie wide receiver. I needed one.
Did you do that after Josh Gordon got released?
Josh Gordon doesn't play for them. Yeah, he's on someone else's camp
Well, he got dropped, I thought.
because he didn't make the team. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
He got cut.
Yeah.
Okay, so you didn't do it because of that. Let's move on.
No, I didn't. No, I was never worried,
Yeah,
dude.
that's the
I
answer.
held Josh Gordon in my team last year. I've never been worried about Josh. I wanted Josh Gordon to pan out, but if he's not going to pan out there, then I don't. You know what I mean? I don't know. So question, you kind of answer this, Hayden, but any moves need to be made before week 1? Are we? You're sitting pretty.
I'm feel okay. I struggle with the regret that I drafted Josh Allen early when I've had a second draft since then, and I had the same decision and I went a different way, and then I ended up getting Russell Wilson way later, and I feel just as happy about it. So that's the trade I was trying to pull off. I was trying to pair Cortland Sutton with Russell Wilson. I know Gray has Joe Burrow because he drafted he kept Burrow and drafted Mahomes super early.
That
as
he
a
did. We're
mistake.
not going to talk about it. Nope.
So I was open to getting Burrow as well, but I don't love the schedule. But I do like the playmakers around him. So
Yeah.
but I think at this point I'm just like, I'll ride it out with Allen and see how it turns out. But like you said, it's super hard to make a trade right now because it has to add up perfectly, because even if you send, like, if I sent 2 running backs and a receiver and I didn't get that number back, then the other person's going to have to drop
players.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to add that into the calculation.
It is, because it makes it where, at least, like, so say someone like me who I don't feel pressure to make a trade right now. So if I were to try to trade with someone, it'd be really hard for me to pick who I want to drop, because like I'm just holding a lot of talent that could potentially be talent. Like, they may not be nothing, but they're rookies who I'm just hoping can pan out. I don't want to give them to other people for free just so I can marginally upgrade.
Like, who's somebody that you have at the end of your bench that you're like, I don't really want to give them away because there is a lot of upside there.
Yeah, let me pull it up right now. Because, like, the thing I'm looking at, so if I was to make a move before the season started, would be like a quarterback upgrade. I like Dak Prescott, and that's who my starting quarterback is. But I'm all about, if I can get upgrades at a position, I try to upgrade.
Yeah.
But the issue is trading before the season starts is difficult. It's difficult unless the person feels needy. If someone feels needy to upgrade their team because they did not like their draft, then they're going to be a little easier to trade with. But if not, they're going to want to wait till after week 1.
There hasn't been the big injury yet. Last year, it was the Ravens running backs that were just like,
which I lost both of them.
Yeah. And that's why Blake was trading early last year.
Forced to. So my bench, I have Tyler Algier, Tyron Davis-Price, who are 2 rookie running backs. One's for San Francisco, one's for the Falcons. And then rookie wide receiver, I have Alec Pierce, who's the number 2 wide receiver in Indianapolis. And I believe in Matt Ryan, so why not hold on to him, see what happens.
Yeah.
And then Sky Moore. And I picked up Isaiah Likely, but he's a tight end. So, like, whatever trade we make, roster limit wise, I can't drop Isaiah Likely for a wide receiver or running back because I'm already at my limits.
Right.
The San Francisco running back is a good game to just have a piece of too, because Trey
Yes,
Sermon got cut after being a 3rd round pick or something like that last year.
Yeah.
So, like, you just don't know what direction that backfield's going to go with Shanahan. So
it's insane.
No, not at all.
He does it.
yeah.
And I want to ask y'all this too, going into week 1. How important is it to win week 1? I'd like to know your opinions on this.
In fantasy?
Wait, in
fantasy, yeah.
I don't think it's super important to win, but I do think, and not necessarily being too reactive, but I do think it's important to try and recognize early the faults in your team, while also not jumping the gun on just one bad week from a player. It is a tough thing to do, but if you make the right calls after week 1, it really helps.
It's hard when you have 3 bad weeks in a row and then you trade Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Remorse.
That one, that one,
but
I don't regret it now. I don't regret it. But
Yes.
yes, obviously I should have kept.
No, but here's the
Jonathan
thing,
Taylor
though,
last year.
and I'll say this about fantasy trading, and, like, for your credit last year, is that no one knows what's best for your team besides you who has the team. And you see, like, it's a lot harder when you are sitting in a position where you haven't won a game and you have Jonathan Taylor and you can get upgraded to 2 other positions and you don't feel like you're downgrading too much. You know what I mean? Like there's a reason to want to trade because you're like, well, my depth's not there. Like I need more starters. I just don't have enough starters. So I don't know. I feel like a lot of people judge trades without really reflecting not the players being moved, but how the team itself upgrades.
Right.
So let's explain before I say how important it is to win week 1. Our league is a little bit different in how we do our like standing system. So it kind of works like soccer in that, well, soccer you can win 3 points if you win the game. If you tie, you get 1 point in the table. Our fantasy football table works as if you win your head-to-head matchup, you get 1 point, and if you're in the top 6 teams or the top half of the league in scoring that week, then you also get an additional point. So I would say winning your head-to-head matchups not as important, but you want to at least be in the top 6.
You want your team to play well.
You don't want to go down 0-2.
Right.
Gosh, that feels bad. That's tough to look at after 1 week.
It is bad. Yeah.
But you got to try to be mentally strong and realize that it's too small of a sample size to worry too much at first. If something happens and it's like your number 1 running back, or like I think my number 2 running back is Josh Jacobs. If it turns out that like Zamir White is the guy, I think he's on the Raiders.
He is.
Oh yeah, he is. I have him on. He's on my team also.
Yeah. So like if Zamir White is like the number 1 running back on the team, then I'm like, oh boy, all right, I'm gonna have to do something here.
Yes.
But like if something like that doesn't happen, then you need to chill out, let the boys play a few weeks and see what happens.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to actually watch your team, your players play if you can, like keep up with that kind of stuff or at least keep up with play percentage and that, like to see
how
what the trends are.
How many times you were targeted?
Yes, because I've had in the past really good week 1s with teams that shouldn't have good week 1s, and like I realized that early on. You try to move those players quick. Like you like sell high and do stuff like sometimes you don't have to sell high. You just try to sell at equal cost because you're like, you know what? I actually think my guy might have had a really good game because week 1's a weird week for the NFL. Like anything can happen week 1. I know a lot of years you'll see people have like blow up who actually go on to not have great seasons. So
hey, y'all remember what was it? Ryan Fitzpatrick's year in Tampa Bay before Tom Brady got there. They're like the first 3 weeks, he was the number 1 fantasy player. Yeah,
like when Deshaun Jackson was there too.
Yes, it was crazy.
Well, that's one thing like you guys can take home as a nugget for your other leagues if you're listening. But like the most people watch week 1 that play fantasy because like they probably want to see who they have, even if they're not super into it, they're going to watch. And so players that have a good week, if you have a player on your team that has a good week 1, struggles the next 2 or 3, that's also a piece you can still move and will be overvalued probably.
Right.
So something to look into.
Yeah, if you see holes in your roster right after week 1, but you see someone who you think overachieved, try selling that player. Like, I mean, other people might see it too. They're like, oh, they overachieved, but you may be able to get someone who's actually hot. Here's the thing. Everyone appraises players differently. So someone that I'm high on might be different than someone you're high on. And so I might be more likely to go after that player, even if, because I might believe that that's a trend where you might believe that's a one and done, or like that might be the peak. So, I mean, it's always good to try shopping. Having that conversation with someone about a trade never will hurt you.
Hate shopping.
Yeah, no, I hate when the worst part of trading is when you're trying to have a conversation with someone about it and they just won't ever offer anything. So you just keep, you're like,
mine is the whole like, I'm rarely the person. I almost have 100% policy if someone comes to me for a trade, not the other way around. And because of that fact, it frustrates me to no end when the person who has come to me for a trade is like, what do you want? And I'm like, I didn't come to you. I wasn't looking at your team for any players, man. What do you want to give me? Like, just give me an offer. That we can hammer out a deal. Blake, I know I made a lot of trades with you last year, but that's the reason, is because Blake was one of the few people that came to me with like, here's what I want and here's what I think you should give me. And whether or not I liked that, it's an easy plug and, like plug in, take out thing of like, no, I don't want to give you that guy, but let's keep this guy and I'll give you this guy instead. Yeah,
none of our trades were easy. Like we went through a lot of iterations, and
there were so many times where I thought we were like, we're not going to get this done.
Dude, and a lot of times with trades too, it's one of those things where it's like you contact someone, and I'll do this sometimes before I offer someone, because I don't like offering disrespectful trades, because like I said, people value players differently, and I can be really high on a player that you think they're dog crap. So like, or dog
I'm
water.
also
So
not a fan of like someone sending an offer that they know I won't take just to get the dialogue going.
right.
Like,
Yeah,
no.
We're too far in at that point.
Yeah.
We're too experienced. We've been doing it for too long.
Yeah, no, just send me what
sometimes
you
I'll
think's
ask-
fair.
Sometimes I'll ask the question like, all right, who in my team are you just interested in? Like, if anyone, like, is there anyone, or who are you not interested? Like, who would
Yeah.
you not want? Because
Right.
you don't want to do the disrespectful trade offers. And sometimes, because I've been
Well,
in
that's
the
the
past
thing,
where
though, I
I
don't-
offer something I thought was good, and they're like, no, that's awful trade. I'm like,
Yes.
well, we just see differently on this player then, because
Also, what was up with
Yeah.
that 12-team trade that Frank tried
He
to
just
pull
wanted-
off earlier?
I looked at it. It wasn't horrible,
It
actually.
was
There's a-
weird.
It was just weird. I think he just wanted to make a 12-team trade happen, and he found a way to make it work. I
Yes,
think was
and
the
that I
thing.
respect. I respect he
Yeah.
put the time, however long that took, to figure out the correct roster moves.
But my move was like one where I was like, I don't know if I would want to do that or not, but if everyone's down, I was going to do it. Like that was
Mine,
that was,
mine
where
was
I
something
kinda-
so inconsequential. It was like I lose Justin Fields and get Kenneth Gainwell.
yeah,
Or something
that.
like- yeah. That
Hey,
was weird.
Kenneth could make a difference. You don't
They
know.
could.
It could until they
But
went
the
out and
Justin
signed Trey
Fields thing.
Sermon.
But could
Yeah.
Kenneth be Brady's MVP?
Yeah, and that's a good question. So the last question I had was, what player on your team will be your MVP this season? It's like your league winner, the player that you can either pick one who's steady the whole year and you think like I'm just going to rely on these points all year, or you can think of someone who like you're like, well, this could be a dark horse who could
I
get
think-
way more points than where I drafted him from.
I think that's a great question. I think mine is very clear, but it somehow feels like a cop out, but I don't think it is because of where I had to draft him. But Christian McCaffrey, obviously, my season is predicated not solely on McCaffrey, but very much so on how he does.
Yes,
Just because of where I had to, or not
Yeah.
had to.
your
right?
draft investment in him.
Yeah.
You draft is incredible.
When you have
Yeah.
a top 3
You-
pick, then it's
Yes.
going to make a big difference because there's a large talent gap between your first pick and your second pick.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and the
Now-
top 3 picks score a lot more points than like 4, 5, 6, 7. So
Oh,
it's-
yeah,
you got to
exactly.
hit that first. Yeah.
Yes. What about you guys?
Looking on my rooster right now,
Oh.
I'm gonna go with a guy that I rode last year. I'm on Ross St. Brown.
Gosh,
Um,
dang it!
I
It's
love
unfair.
saying his name. Number
I've
one.
said it time and
Number
time
two,
again.
I did watch Hard Knocks today.
Yep.
The guy's got an edge to him. and
Hell yeah!
Yeah.
Like he is sculpted like a Greek god. His dad won Mr. Universe twice. Apparently, has trained him for a long time. I thought that was really cool.
Doesn't he
snippet.
Also? He can name every player that got drafted, every receiver that got drafted before him.
Yes.
He can name every wide receiver that got drafted before him. And every day after practice, he catches 202 balls off the jugs machine because one day when he was a kid, one dad told his dad that his kid caught 200 jug ball
Yes.
passes a day
Ball
after practice.
jugs.
Yeah,
Ball
ball
jug
jugs.
pass.
Yes.
But so I kind of like the edge he's got. He has solid hands, and hopefully he just gets a bunch of targets.
Yeah, no, and I'm a little higher on the Detroit Lions than some people. I think they're going to be around a 7-8 win team this year. So I think he'll be a big part of it. I also hope the offense does well because I have Swifty. But no, I think it's a great pick.
Yeah.
I think it's a great pick. For me, I don't know. I have a couple players I feel pretty like good about, but I think my like dark horse would be Ramondre Stevenson. I think with James White retiring and I don't know, Ty Montgomery's their other backup. I just think he could be a player that I took in the 6th, I think, or 5th, 6th, and he could become RB1 numbers maybe because of just all the usage he gets. I don't know. He could be that kind of player. I feel kind of the same way about like Kyle Pitts could also be one where it's like he has that freak year. Yeah, I don't know. I would like to say Stevenson. He's a running back, and if you can get RB1 value running back from a 5th round pick, you're doing pretty good.
That would be huge.
Yeah. It's one of those things too. So I
Huge.
have a question for fantasy advice, and maybe this will help someone else listening too. So this week I got to decide who to start: Ramondre Stevenson or Harris. What's his first name?
Damian Harris.
Damon Harris. Yeah. So the 2 lead running backs in New England. How would y'all start?
toss-up.
How do you start, and how do you make that decision? Because here's my logic. My logic would be start Stevenson because he's the 3rd down back and he's been the goal line back. So his floor might be higher than Harris's, but I think Harris's ceiling would be higher overall. So I might want to go that safe. I might go the safe floor route.
I am gonna just agree with you based on the fact that I have a rule. I think a lot like Hayden of I don't touch Patriots running backs as long as Bill Belichick is employed there. as the head coach, I will not be touching
Dude,
their running back.
Damian Harris
Stevenson
did great for
could
Brady the
fumble.
last 2 years.
Stevenson could fumble the first drive, and he may not be on the team after week.
Yes,
you
True.
just don't know.
exactly.
Which that's
Yeah.
unlikely, but like, and that's one reason I don't touch split backfields either, because they can change in the first quarter of the game, and you don't know. Like, if in my opinion, I wouldn't start either one of them, and then use week 1 as like a sample. So I don't know if you have a deep enough.
I don't
roster
have
to do that.
No,
I don't have a deep
one of those
enough
have to start. One of them have to start. Hayden. I
Maybe
need
you
to
make a
tell
trade.
help the
Yeah.
listeners.
Yeah,
They need to
I would
know.
go Stevenson just because of the catching upside, but
yeah.
I would rather not be in that situation.
Well, after week 1, when Stevenson scores 20 points, we'll see who's talking. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, Blake, we'll see.
Okay, then start Harris.
Yes, there's your answer.
There we
All right,
go.
everybody, thank you so much for listening. I hope you guys have a lot of fantasy output, unless you're playing me, Aaron. And you know what? Everybody else in our league, you can also have a bad fantasy week.
Yeah,
So-
we all need to get plus
At
1
least
point
6 of you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at least 6 of you
Yeah.
need to win.
You get in that top half.
Right.
So special shout out to our friend Oh No that put our music together. He's great, and shout out to our lady friends for all their help. Thank you guys again so much for listening. We have fun doing this. Maybe we're just a fantasy football podcast now. I don't know.
Yeah,
We just like
who
that the
knows?
most.
It's so
But yeah,
fun.
we'll be here
Happy
again next
Tuesday.
week, and having a lot of
Sayonara,
stuff to talk
folks.
about. We are in
right.
the heyday of sports.
We are. October is
1.
going to be fun when we get there.
Yeah, basketball's
Yes.
coming up.
Getting hockey. Later, guys.
Get out.
Ow.